All righty. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Liza Convoy. I'm the Business Engagement Manager with the Kent Chamber of Commerce. Thank you all for joining us today for Chamber Chat. Today, we are joined by Greg, who's the Executive Director of Gateway Medical Alliance. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for being here. So, just to start off, I would love to, learn the basic information about you and what the Gateway Medical Alliance does. So, can you tell us a little bit about the mission statement?
Sure. Gateway Medical Alliance is a nonprofit organization, and we provide medical resources to the poor and disadvantaged around the world. And so our mission is Gateway Medical Alliance, through strategic partnerships, serves as a catalyst to improve the lives of the poor and disadvantaged by providing healthcare resources worldwide.
I love that. And can you tell us a little bit, about the history and how the organization got started?
Sure. Let me tell you a little bit about Gateway and how our origination took place. So, Dr. Spiker was a doctor down in Puyallup, and as a child, he grew up in Morocco. His dad was stationed in the U.S. military, so he was a military child growing up in Morocco. After graduating from UW, practicing in Puyallup, he decided he wanted to go back to Morocco and give back to the people. Quickly realized that he couldn't practice medicine, but he could bring medical supplies into the country. So in the early 90s, he started exploration trips into Morocco, which then birthed the opportunity for the Morocco project to take place in 1995. And that was an invitation for the first container to be sent into Morocco. So when you talk about containers, think about a shipping container that you would see going up and down the Valley Highway here, driving through Kent, a 40-foot high cubed container filled with medical supplies. And then in 1997, Gateway was able on their own to send their first container to Berkane, Morocco, followed by in 2002, we incorporated as a nonprofit organization here in the Puget Sound area. In 2004, there were multiple earthquakes taking place in Morocco, and we had a container there, and we were able to provide medical resources to individuals in Morocco from that container. But that also launched and birthed our first physical therapy centers. In 2006, we got registered as an official organization in Morocco. And so we're a Moroccan association. 2010, developed partnerships with university hospitals. And then 2012, we were able to send our first container outside of Morocco, and that went to Nigeria. And then that's also the year we moved into a warehouse here on Kent, just right off of the East Valley Highway. In 2014, I came on board as executive director. And then over the years, we've been sending containers of medical supplies. And we get all our medical supplies from hospitals, clinics, distributors, families that have had a family member go through hospice, bring them into our warehouse where volunteers sort and pack those items. And the last few years with COVID, we've had to make some adjustments. And so we've done offsite packing, which we can talk about more a little bit later. But also since COVID, we have sent wheelchairs to Morocco. We had 60 wheelchairs arrive last year in Morocco. And those wheelchairs are being custom fitted to children through our physical therapy centers in Morocco. And then so far this year in 2022, Gateway has sent 6 shipping containers filled with medical supplies to Ghana, Liberia, and Cambodia. And so over the years, Gateway has sent a total of 140 shipping containers filled with medical resources to all of our strategic partners around the world. And to give you the idea, from April of last year to April of this year, Gateway sent 14 containers total for 152 tons of resources that would have ended up in our landfills here in Puget Sound.
Wow. That's impressive. That's impressive. That's wonderful. You all are doing some wonderful work because there are definitely some communities, around the world that can use those materials that otherwise might be getting thrown out. So that's wonderful. It's a humanitarian effort and a sustainable one. So I love that. So I'm curious, also to learn a little bit more about you and what drew you to work with an organization like Gateway.
Sure. So I spent 23 years working at camp and conference centers here in the Puget Sound, and 2008 took place. The economy dove, and I was in a transition of looking for a new position. So at that point, I went into office sales and products for um, about 5 years, and I was not looking at doing a change. But
Mm-hmm.
I got in a call from a friend saying, "Would you consider looking at Gateway Medical Alliance? They're looking for their first executive director, and they feel that you have some skills that could be involved." I said, "I'm not looking at doing a change, but let's explore the opportunity." And that was a couple of months of just looking and exploring that. And as corporate America grew, there was a merger that took place within my company that I was working at. And at that point, my position was eliminated down due to merging and seniority. And so at that point, September of 2014, I started at Gateway Medical Alliance, and I've been here almost 8 years now total. And I love what I do, providing connection with our volunteers, our partners around the world, and just providing the resources for the people in need who cannot afford those medical items.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. For, congratulations for being in the position as long as you have. I am confident that your team is grateful to have you. So and I'm glad that we get to know a little bit about the business and a little bit about you. And a follow up question as a get to know you. I'm curious if you have ever gotten to visit any of the countries that you all send supplies to.
Before COVID, I would travel guaranteed at least once a year due
Mm.
to flight restrictions and all the different guidelines. I've put that on hold. I'm looking forward to hopefully scheduling a future trip in the near future. But I've traveled to Morocco, I've traveled to Ghana, to Liberia, to Cambodia, um, seeing firsthand what's going on. And that's part of the reason why we have strategic partners. We just don't send medical supplies in a shipping container to whoever in whatever country and hope that they use them, hope that they get them.
Yeah.
Because around the world there is corruption and they could be sold on the black market, whatever. So we want to make sure that we have connections, relationships. We visit the hospitals, the clinics, the communities that are receiving the supplies. To give you the idea, some of the places I've been are not the best healthcare facilities that I would like to see anybody have to go through and be in. Um, I've been in places that I guarantee I could take the messiest room in anybody's house and quickly turn that into a more sterile, more comfortable surgery center, examination center than some of the places I've been in. I've seen mattresses that, honestly, the best way to describe it is the cat shredded it to pieces, and that's what they're putting people on. Um, so we're able to take the medical supplies. You take the exam beds that you would see at any of our doctor's offices that we go for a checkup. We can take those that we get from the hospitals and clinics, bring them in, clean them up, and then send them out to these countries. And it is better than a lot of the things that they have. In Cambodia, they call the exam beds that we send, that you and I would use for a general examination, birthing beds, just
Mm.
because the beds have stirrups on them. And
Right.
so just being able to provide those resources to the people. And so um, been, as I said, the question was traveling. I've been to Morocco multiple times. Cambodia, I've been there with a team, and we've taught police officers how to do CPR first aid classes. And
Oh
so,
wow.
working with 10 police officers, their police officers act equivalent to our EMTs, and yet they have the training of less than one of our high schoolers here in the Kent School District who's taken a first aid CPR class. So through working with a partner who's a Seattle firefighter, we've been able to develop a curriculum, bring resources in from mannequins for CPR training, materials to do items, and then leaving the police officers with trauma bags that they can have available to them. Also, we've been able to send multiple jaws of life that have been surplus from local fire stations and train the police officers how to extract a person from a wrecked vehicle. Um,
Mm.
and so, working together with strategic partnerships is a key thing, and knowing our partners around the world is important.
Yeah. Yeah. those relationships really sound like the one of the key aspects to the industry that you're in. I mean, but it's wonderful that it goes beyond just standard medical supplies, the things that you think of, the disposable things, masks, gauze, tissue, what have you. It's really impressive that the supplies that you all provide there's such a wide span. So that's wonderful. It sounds like everybody think people are getting what they need around the world. That's really exciting, and I am definitely jealous of your travels. I would love to see all of those countries one day. My follow-up question, though, and I mentioned the industry, is I'm curious, if there is something about Gateway Medical Alliance that kind of sets yourselves apart from other organizations like yourselves.
The key thing is being strategic with who we partner with. And, we're an organization that runs with volunteers. So we work directly with our volunteers. They're part of what makes it happen. I'm just helping orchestrate things. They're the ones that are doing the work. And so volunteers stand out. I would say every volunteer that we have is vested, and they're invested in the organization. They care about Gateway. And there's plenty of opportunities for volunteerism here at Gateway. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, from 9 to 2, we have volunteers in our warehouse, sorting, packing, and preparing items. We have some businesses that will shut down their office for a morning and come in and do a team building thing with their employees and pack and prepare items. We have other businesses where we take supplies directly to their location, and they will have an afternoon and evening of packing and preparing supplies. And so it just depends on where people are at, what they'd like to do, and getting people involved in making a difference. So
yes. I love that answer. So that's a wonderful segue, because I would love for you to tell the folks watching, if any of that, made their light bulb go off, how they can go about getting involved.
Sure. So how people can get involved with Gateway. One, think about your closet. Think about your garage. Did you have surgery, or a family member have surgery and have a pair of crutches, a surgical boot, a brace? All those items can be donated to Gateway and brought into our warehouse. And our website's listed below, where you can reach out and find out more information on how to donate those items. We also have the opportunities, as I was talking about, for people to come in and sort and pack and prepare the medical items. We also have opportunities for people to go out into our community and visit a family and pick up supplies that may be from a family member who passed away after being in hospice, or visiting a local hospital or doctor's office and picking up supplies. So multiple ways for engagement, and really it's figuring out where people are at. If packing is not your issue, we may have opportunities for people to repair wheelchairs, crutches, walkers, commodes, and that kind of stuff. So it's figuring out where people are at and how they can make a difference, and then coming in and serving in those ways.
That's wonderful. It really sounds like that, you all have made, your volunteering opportunities accessible for everybody. Like you said, you're trying to meet people where they are, and, finding, smaller differences to kind of get to the same goal, which is really to pack and sort and get everything out to the folks who need it, and people can help in any way that works for them. So that's wonderful, because it's really people say takes many hands to do and takes all kinds. So I think that's wonderful that anybody can really get involved and help out with the efforts. And I know we briefly talked about it earlier, that, things have kind of shifted with COVID and all, and, the process kind of looks different just based on that. And so, especially in the business community, we talk a lot about the hardship, which is understandable because the last couple of years have been tough for everybody. But I really would also like to focus on, the positive end of things. So, I'm curious if you have any big accomplishments that come to mind when you think of, the past few years with Gateway.
Sure, there's many stories, and let me start with one where it talks about COVID. And COVID-19, that season of COVID was a challenge for all businesses, all organizations. But I like to look at the positive that has taken place and developed from that. And at Gateway, we had to reinvent how we do things. If you take a normal day of volunteers pre-COVID, we'd have 25 to 30 people in our warehouse some days volunteering, packing, and preparing. But due to number limitations, shutdowns, all those different things, we had to make adjustments.
Yeah.
So we started and launched what was called our at-home packing program. And at that point, we set up distribution sites in Kent, Puyallup, and a few other places at times to distribute packet or boxes for volunteers to sort and pack in their homes. If it wasn't for COVID, that wouldn't have taken place. Also, our focus had been international, and we had the cry out for PPEs at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
We had the opportunity to partner with local hospitals, clinics, nursing homes to provide resources that were ready to go out to Liberia and Cambodia that we couldn't ship at that point, and bring those back in to our communities. The first time giving back really into our local aspect of things. Mm-hmm. Also working with Valley Medical, they came in to look at a few things, and they saw some sterilization wrap in our warehouse. And they realized that that sterilization wrap was needed for a furniture shop up in Mukilteo, who did an adjustment and stopped making furniture and started sewing PPEs out of sterilization wrap. And those items were able to be sent through Valley up to there. Also, other stories that have taken place, supplies from Gateway in Morocco were able to be used years ago for the first liver transplant to take place. Recently, we have a girl named Aya, a 3-year-old girl with cerebral palsy in Morocco. And she loves being around people. She's not able to be mobile or get up by herself, which means her mom's carrying her around. She often lays down, and she doesn't like to do that. But through a fitting of those customized wheelchairs, she is now able to be moving around. She's able to be a part of the activity. And that's also especially helpful for her mother right now as she is expecting her next child. Mm-hmm. Supplies to Cambodia. There was a gentleman who was celebrating the Khmer New Year and had a gasoline explosion and caused 75% of his body to be burned with 2nd and 3rd degree burns. Dr. Sophie was able to use sterile pads and lubrications and other items from containers that Gateway Medical Alliance sent to treat those burns and treat those patients. Another story that I remember is going into Liberia, traveling from Monrovia about 2 hours out into a rural area. We had the SUV packed with wheelchairs, walkers, medical supplies. On the roof are more walkers and an IV stand. And we drive down this dirt road. We ask for directions, guided by a motorcycle into the area where the hospital was. And we quickly learned that earlier that morning, there had actually been another motorcycle rider who had been in an accident and was in a crash, who was basically waiting to have all the procedures done, yet they did not have an IV pole. Luckily, that IV pole that was left Kent went in a container across the sea to Monrovia, Liberia, ended up at C.H. Rennie Hospital, was able to be available for this man to have an IV pole. Wow. Sad to say, that hospital last summer had a fire that took place. There's a lot of hospitals and clinics that are run with generators. Just take a Honda generator that you and I would pick up at Home Depot or another store. That's what they're running the power on a lot of these places. Mm-hmm. One of the things from Liberia that I have on my mind and smells that I remember is just petroleum all over. Well, imagine gasoline from that generator and a doctor, nurse, or whoever in labor and delivery with a candle, and the fumes of the gas equal the flame, which caused an explosion. And that hospital burnt down last year. And in Liberia, here we would expect the Kent Fire Department to be here with under 7 minutes. Mm-hmm. There, it took 2 hours because of the limitation of fire trucks that they have there in Liberia to get to the scene. So they lost that hospital, and we've been able to send supplies to help that. On the current day, we've been able to help out also with projects with Ukraine. We received at the beginning of the war a phone call from multiple people, one of those being partners at Valley Medical Center. And between Valley and Gateway and a few others, we were able to get supplies up to a church in Seattle. And this Ukrainian group then processed all the supplies, and then they were able to be airlifted into Poland and help people in the Ukraine. Also, weekly, bi-weekly, we are sending supplies through another group here locally in the Kent Valley to send medical supplies, walkers, wheelchairs, crutches, and other supplies to the Ukraine that they're shipping via boat. And those can take 45 to 90 days to get there. And a few things are also air freighting in there through donors. So those are just a few quick little things of Gateway having an impact around the world. And there's more stories we could share along the way.
Yeah. It sounds like you guys do it all. Yeah, I love those stories of success, because if you all are doing well, it means that your efforts are benefiting those folks in the countries that you send supplies to. So I'm very happy to hear that the list of accomplishments is quite long. So I'm happy for you. So my follow-up question to that, because you did answer my question about Ukraine, I was curious whether you all were involved there. So that's wonderful to hear. I'm curious if the plan is to keep going with the packing at home. You send folks with supplies and things like that to pack at home. Is the idea to keep that going? Because it sounds like it's a pretty successful operation.
That is a project that we still have going. We have a group in Puyallup that is still doing that. We've brought our Kent people back into the warehouse. But if somebody is interested in working on that at home, reach out to me, and we can talk about the possibility where they can come down to our warehouse, pick up supplies, take them, bring them back. But for here locally, it makes sense if it works out to come right into our warehouse. We have all the supplies there, all the stuff there. They don't have to load it in their car, don't have to unload it at home. But it's a program that can be taken. We also do offsite packing for groups. This past month, we launched a group up in Issaquah at a retirement community, and that opened up the opportunity the first week there, or the first day, having 25 people volunteering there. We started also a group down in Olympia where we take stuff down, and that's working out of a church down there. And there's 12 people that showed up the first week. We have a group down in Tacoma that continues to work, that's been going for about a year. And so there's different ways of people engaging. And it's really figuring out, what time do I have? When do I have it? And then making it work. And if there's a group that wants to come in the evening after hours, we'll set up a group time for a business or somebody to come in after hours. The key is it has to be somebody over 16, just due to the warehouse environment that we have and that we're in. So.
Okay. That's great to know. I can imagine there are some organizations in our area, especially, that would love to bring their whole team and go and help out in the warehouse. Yeah, perfect. Well, so I know that we talked about volunteering, but my other question is if you guys are also looking to hire.
We don't have any hiring. I'm actually the only full-time person, and we have one part-time administration. So we're not looking at hiring, but we're looking at getting volunteers.
Always.
And so volunteerism is something that is very great, very beneficial. One of the things that I've encouraged people over the years is people that are in hiring transitions. Right now, there's many jobs out there that people can apply for depending on what they're looking for. But there's always that gap that I have between, I've lost my job, I'm between a job transition and getting that next job. It's always important to keep your resume active and show something going on during that time of gap. And that's where I've encouraged individuals before that are in between jobs to come down to our warehouse and just start working. And that's just something to say, hey, on your resume, you can put down volunteering, being involved. And it's great when you're talking to somebody who's looking at hiring you, where you can say, I've been unemployed during this period, but I have been involved in an organization helping 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, or multiple organizations giving my time. Yes, the primary role is finding a job during that gap. Yeah. But it's also having that track record to show, hey, I'm just not sitting at home, resting, sleeping, playing games, watching
Yeah.
TV. I've been active. I've been doing stuff while I've been looking. So if somebody's in that period of looking for work in a gap right now, coming down and being a volunteer would be something that I would say would be a great fit.
Yeah. That's a great suggestion. That sounds like a perfect, relationship that benefits both parties, right? And,
Yes.
putting that effort towards, folks that could use the help. So that's a great suggestion. So if there are any folks out there who are interested, what's the best way to go about becoming a volunteer?
Sure. The best way in becoming a volunteer is you can reach out to us on our website at gatewayma.org, and it's down on the bottom of your screen. You can also give us a call here at our office at 253-872-5886, and that's also on your screen right now.
Perfect. Well, that is all I have for you. I feel smarter already. So I appreciate it. You coming on here with us today and teaching us a little bit about what Gateway Medical Alliance does. And we appreciate your efforts, on behalf of the Chamber and Kent as a whole. I'm grateful that you all exist. Well, so this has been Chamber Chat with Greg Plett. If there's anything else you'd like to plug or tell the folks about, now's the time.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me today. And let me just share one other story that we learned about how we can be involved in the community of Kent. As we had police officers come in during COVID to get PPEs and other supplies, one of the things we learned was something that we had to throw out was expired IV fluids, IV saline. And we're able to give those now to our local police officers that are able to use those in the Kent community for simulation training and other resources for training police officers where they'll recreate a training crime scene, and the saline solution will become kind of like a fake blood liquid coming out of somebody for a trauma and how to respond. So just another way of giving back to our community. And there's many ways, as we talked about, that you can give to Gateway Medical Alliance, whether that be financially, volunteering, or as I talked about earlier, think about your closet. Do you have that crutch, that pair of crutches, that walker that's been on the shelf, that surgical boot, a CPAP machine? Give you an idea of CPAP machines making a difference around the world. Here in America, we can only use a CPAP machine for sleep apnea. But in Liberia, a doctor from Madigan Army Hospital has used the CPAP machines to create a tent over newborn premature babies and provide a way for oxygen to be blown into a child when they don't have the incubator that we have here in the country. So thinking outside of the box, what do I have that can make a difference around the world? Working together through our strategic partners, you and I can make a difference in the world. And so thank you for joining us. Reach out to us at gatewayma.org, and we would love to share more of our story with you. So thanks for having us today, and have a great day.
Okay. Thank you so much.